A loaded SEC Week 5 is ahead. Bama at Georgia, LSU at Ole Miss, Auburn at Texas A&M. It is time to get the squad together.
You're talking ball with the SEC squad. From Alabama to Tennessee, from Georgia to Oklahoma, from Auburn to Texas, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming SEC weekend. It's the SEC squad, and we have a seat for you. Hurt feelings and thin skin are prohibited. Squad up, you're part of the SEC squad.
And what's up, everybody? Welcome into the SEC squad. Sit back, grab your favorite beverage, and join us as we get you ready for another week talking all things SEC. And by the way, this episode brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. Let's welcome in our panel this week. A little bit smaller panel. I get it. It's busy. Everybody's got stuff going on. We got Stephen Willis, Locked On Ole Miss. We got John Miller, Locked On Mizzou. We got Corey Burton, Locked On Vandy. I'm Chris Gordy, host of Locked On SEC. And gents, as we do every week, right out of the gates, give me a prediction for your team. All three of you guys have teams in action this week. So, Stephen, not exactly a score prediction, but give me a prediction for what you're thinking. Ole Miss, something from that game against LSU coming up.
Both quarterbacks for Ole Miss will play against LSU this weekend. Austin Simmons was full go on practice on Tuesday. Might not be 100%, but I think he's going to be close enough to play a little bit.
Yeah, I still wonder how much of that is mind games from Lane, maybe saying, we'll get him ready and we'll see what happens. John Miller, give us a prediction for the Mizzou team this week.
Well, Ahmad Hardy's gotten off to a heck of a start already with 600 total rushing yards on the season. I think he gets another 100 this week against UMass, but maybe only like 12 carries or something like that. Need a little bit of load management for him and Jamal Roberts, honestly. Missouri got one of the best 1-2 running back combos, not just in the SEC, the whole country.
Yeah, Ahmad Hardy has gone over 100 yards every week, so that's not a bad bet if you want to make that one. Corey Burton, give me a prediction for Vanderbilt.
Well, I think they cover again against Utah State. I mean, that's they're rolling pretty well on offense. They're extremely well balanced. So Pavia and crew are going to get it done again this weekend against Utah State ahead of the big matchup with Alabama.
Love it. We've got a couple late ads to our show here, so let's jump to John Williams with Oklahoma. Now Oklahoma's got the bye, so maybe just use this opportunity to talk about John Mateer having surgery.
Well, yeah, that's the surprise of the week. I mean, come out of the big win over Auburn, and then a couple days later, John Mateer's having surgery. He's going to miss Kent State and possibly Texas. Man. I'm thankful the bye week came now because now you have a week and a half to get Michael Hawkins Jr. ready for Kent State. And if he has to start against Texas and Red River, then you've got 2.5 weeks to get him ready for that.
My initial thought on that, John, real quick, is Hawkins didn't look great last year, but he was working with the same poor supporting cast that Jackson Arnold was. Better supporting cast this year, so maybe a better Michael Hawkins.
Yeah, and an offensive coordinator that has a track record of developing good quarterback play, having good passing seasons with guys that maybe not everybody was super high on coming out of high school.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see, but that was a real curveball for the season this week here in that one. And, hey, Texas is, I believe our buddy Chris Marler said the other day, Texas – all their SEC games they've played, there's been just this weird thing that they faced a lot of backups somehow, some way since they've gotten in the SEC.
SEC and the football gods both have been favoring Texas.
Jimmy Stein, man, Bama's got a big one this week on the road at Georgia, but we'll get into breaking down the game. But give me a prediction for Bama this week, something you'd like to see.
I think, for Alabama to win, Ty Simpson has to have a big game, and I think Ty's going to throw for a lot of yards. In a win or a loss, I would put the over-under on passing yards for Ty Simpson somewhere around 330, 340. I think Alabama's going to come into the game planning to throw it all around the yard, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game isn't high-scoring, similar to the Alabama-Georgia game last year.
Yeah, if Joey Aguilar can throw for a ton of yards on that Georgia secondary, maybe Ty Simpson can do it. We will see. Another late addition to our show here, our buddy John Neighbors, Locked On Razorbacks. I don't even need to bring up last week, John. It was I bet on Arkansas, so I lost money. I was hurting just like you were, but you get Notre
Definitely
Dame.
the same thing.
You get Notre Dame this week, John. No rest for the weary. I'm talking to a lot of people who are picking Arkansas to win this one, but give me a thought on a prediction for Arkansas this week.
Yeah, well, you're talking to a lot of stupid people, it sounds like. Because listen, Arkansas has once again lost another game in one possession. I don't understand why anybody would pick them to win any games at this point. They lost to an AAC team in Memphis, who may be good, might be, but it's just the morale's pretty low. And you guys ever always wonder why I'm in a bad mood on these squad shows? Again, I couldn't even make it to October. Before all this nonsense started happening. But hey, yeah, at least Notre Dame's coming to town, right? That's going to solve all the problems. It's going to be great.
Well, at least they're struggling too. They're 1-2, so that if you're going to catch them, this might be the time to catch them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Especially since the fact, they just played in the national championship game last year. It's kind of a different balance, a little bit of a different thing. If you're coming off of a championship appearance instead of just going to the frickin' Liberty Bowl like you did last year, yeah, it's a little bit different of a situation.
What was the stat you threw out on the one possession games for Arkansas?
Oh, I got to admit, I was actually wrong about that. I said they were 17-40 since 2012. They're actually 17-43 since 2012. So, but as I put it, if Arkansas just won half of the games they lost in those one possessions, they would have extra 2 wins per season. And imagine how much different that would be. But that's okay. It's fine. It's a program I love.
Yeah, just to stick with Arkansas real quick, because hot seat has become a big conversation, and we all think Billy Napier at this point is dead man walking. It's a matter of if not or when, not if. But Sam Pittman, just curious, John, if he does win this one, that almost feels like one where it's like, all right, he's staying, or it's almost like if you want him gone, you almost he needs to lose this one, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of be pissed if they win, to be honest, because it would not just because it's like I want the team to lose or anything. It just because it would go into the confusion of this entire thing, where it's not just like a cut and dry deal where you're getting ran off the field and you're getting embarrassed. You're getting worked over by a bunch of teams, and it's an easy decision. It's just like an easy. Oh yeah, you're getting your butt handed to you. That's why we got to fire you. But because these games have been close, and because they've always been close, and then if you find a way to screw around and beat Notre Dame, it's just kind of like, what do we do? Like, what happens here? Like, you got to make a decision. And I still think no matter what, this is Pittman's last year. I don't think he's going to be around. But suddenly it's like, what? So what are you fighting for? What are you playing for? How does this make sense? Shouldn't you just roll over and die? But then if you don't, because then it's like, oh, we're going to be excited. Yay. And then they just get wrecked by Tennessee on the road the next week. And then you're like, so why didn't we fire this guy now? Like, it just can cause a lot more confusion. And in a way, it's like, again, I think it's going to be inevitably the same ending no matter what and the same result. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if something like that happened. Actually, you know what? What's going to happen is Arkansas is going to lose by one possession because they fumbled the ball on the goal line just for the 3rd week in a row. Why not? I mean, let's make it the trifecta. Go ahead and bet on that, because that's what they love to do. They love to make it interesting. They love to give you some little bit of hope. But they also just love ripping it out of your soul. So you got to sit back and ponder, why in the world did my dad make me a Razorback fan growing up?
Man, anybody got any thoughts on the coaches that potentially may not make it till the end of the year? I think we all are kind of agreement on Billy Napier, but I think we're on Stoops watch, right?
Yeah.
They play South Carolina this week.
Yeah, definitely on Stoops watch for sure. But Billy's as good as gone. Already kind of wondering pondering who's going to be replacing him down in Florida, and some of the names are interesting, but.
I think there's a low key you need to pay attention to South Carolina, and not that they're going to fire him. They're not going to fire him, but I think there's a chance he could end up at Virginia Tech.
He wants to see. He seems like he wants to cry his way out of town. Did you guys see that quote where he was going, "Boy, Josiah Trotter, Missouri really paid him a lot of money in the transfer portal." Yeah, I could not believe that. I mean, the whininess of Shane Beamer is just consistent now. I really wanted to like the guy because I'll just say Frank Beamer has got to be 1,000 times more likable than his son. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he's the softest coach in college football, I think.
He's the most thin, he's got the thinnest skin for sure.
Yeah.
Because I mean, one little thing sets him off. I mean, he went off about that Lenore Sellers thing in the Vandy game, and I felt like that just put. I think South Carolina just quit after that point, and they were like,
It's the second generation thing. Like you see the same thing happen down with the Dallas Cowboys. Like Jerry Jones, like super likable for the most part because he's just kind of quirky and funny. And I mean, now after 40 years or whatever, people don't like him as much. But people really don't like Stephen Jones. It's the same thing. It's like the first generation, everybody kind of likes the guy, had a lot of success. Second generation guy, maybe not as much success. He's trying to.
But is he like whiny and
so Stephen
going
Pearl?
about it
So
in a
you're not a
way
big
that he-
Stephen Pearl guy, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, no, Stephen Pearl's not going to work out.
No
I'm sorry,
shot.
Auburn. I hate to break it to you guys, but it's not
Brian
gonna work out for
Schottenheimer,
you.
the head coach.
I'm getting Pat Knight vibes. That's all.
Yeah, Brian Schottenheimer's probably not going to work out quite like Marty Schottenheimer did. Now, Kyle Shanahan, okay, that one's worked out. Mike Shanahan was great. Kyle Shanahan's pretty great, but
As somebody who interviewed Shane Beamer back in January, I thought he was delightful, and we like Shane Beamer on Locked on SEC.
we love Shane Beamer and Norman.
When we come back here, guys, we got a loaded SEC week slate in week 5 slate. When we return, we'll get into previewing some of those big ones coming up next year on the Squad Edition. More with the squad in just a second. But first, it is almost the weekend, guys, and it is time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's jump into it. For this week, we're going with Mizzou running back Ahmad Hardy. Delivered in a big way for Mizzou last week, and a nice conference win when the pressure was on. He came through with some nice runs. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, it wasn't a fluke. He has been doing this every week, rushing for over 100 yards every week since he's been at Mizzou. And just like Ahmad Hardy delivers for the Mizzou Tigers, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order, you stack it up all season. You can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through 11/18. This episode also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is here. FanDuel, they're making sure you're ready for each and every kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers, if you've never used FanDuel before, you can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across their app. And you're going to love all the different things you can do on FanDuel, whether it's player props, building a same-game parlay, jumping in live action, whatever it is. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team, keep an eye on your fantasy lineup, whatever it is. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sundays. So if you are ready to play, download the FanDuel app today now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. I got all the college games up there as well. All the big SEC games are there each and every week. It is at FanDuel.com. Head to FanDuel.com right now to place your first $5 bet and take advantage of that great offer. SEC squad talking more ball. And guys, let's get into, let's start with the game of the week. It is number 17, Alabama at number 5, Georgia, 7:30 Eastern on ABC. Bama 2-1. The week 1 loss to Florida State where everybody buried them, but then they came back, looked much better the last 2 weeks. Ty Simpson looked great. Georgia they're 3-0, but man, that game at Knoxville a couple weeks ago was really hairy, and you could argue they should have lost it. But Jimmy, we'll start with you. Kind of give us your thoughts on this one.
I think one thing that's really interesting about this matchup is just how similar both teams are in terms of, I would say they're sort of mirror images in many ways. Gunnar Stockton and Ty Simpson are very similar quarterbacks when you compare them in terms of size, arm talent, leg talent. If you ask Georgia fans who's the better quarterback, you're going to hear Gunnar Stockton. You ask Alabama fans, they're going to say Ty Simpson. Just, similar guys. Both programs right now have an issue with pass rush, and I think that's ultimately what's going to lead to a lot of points on Saturday, or more points than many are expecting. Neither Alabama nor Georgia has that dominant alpha pass rusher that they used to have in the past. That should allow both quarterbacks time to operate. Both have pretty good receiving cores. Zachariah Branch and Ryan Williams, big-time playmakers. Colby Young and Zay Horton, big-bodied receivers that can keep the chains moving. I think Jam Miller, back healthy for the first game this year, is going to make an impact in the Alabama run game. Him and Nate Frazier, I think, similar players. Both Alabama and Georgia questions on the offensive line. So I see both teams as kind of shockingly similar considering Georgia's coming off an SEC championship year and Alabama's coming off a 4-loss season. But personnel-wise, when you're looking at these lineups on the field, there's a lot more similarities than differences.
Yeah, Georgia's got to come out of the gates early in this one. Against Tennessee, they kind of were shocked and stunned, and Tennessee just kind of blitzkrieged them a little bit. But they got to come out fast. They got to play extremely clean, and I think they've got to try to gain control immediately of the line of scrimmage if they want to have a shot here. Because I think Bama, if you get Bama rolling, they can really gain some momentum and they can really kind of put it on you.
Well, the question is, will Georgia be dressed to go to a funeral? Are they wearing the black
it went
jersey?
So well last
game?
time.
Yeah.
It went so well last time, the blackout. It was great.
I think it looks cool, but yeah, because of what happened last time they did it, I mean, it's like you never want to do it again. I know Clint's not here this week. Clint Chamberlain is running scared, the Locked On Bulldogs, but
I'll represent for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I was going to say, anybody want to represent for the Bulldogs here and give a reason why?
Right? Well, I think it just did.
Well, I think they're off to a better start to the season than Alabama is. They've got that big win over Tennessee. Obviously, Alabama struggled against Florida State week 1, turned some things around against some lesser competition the last couple of weeks. I just think Georgia's a little bit more battle tested, especially going into the game, having just played in Knoxville against Tennessee. I think they're going to be a team that's a little bit more prepared for this game than maybe Alabama is, but I think it's going to be one of those classic back and forth shootouts.
I don't know if Georgia's the absolute elite team in the conference or anything, but I do think they're probably the safest bet, if that makes sense. I think there's kind of a few teams up at the top you could argue for, but if I have to pick one, it would probably be Georgia, but I don't feel that great about it, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean,
yeah,
Kirby Smart has only had one season with fewer than 10 wins since his first season, and it was the COVID year. He's the most consistent coach in college football.
Yeah, and Gunnar Stockton has proven a little bit that he's able to really carry the load. That was the biggest question I had going into this season is, can Gunnar Stockton do it? Can he be that dude that goes out there and makes plays when Georgia really needs it? And you saw that in that Tennessee game. That's, them coming back. They're being down 21-7. And of course, Tennessee traditionally always has the lead. But when you see Gunnar Stockton go out there and lead them down, you're like, okay, I see you can actually do it.
Yeah, what I liked about Georgia in that game is, like, you saw they were a little bit conservative at the start, and they've been kind of conservative to start the season, but they've gradually kind of opened things up as Gunnar Stockton gets more comfortable. They were pushing the ball vertically down the field. That pass to London Humphreys at the end of the game was outstanding. And they were just hitting more vertical shots than I've seen them take over the course of the Mike Bobo era at offensive coordinator. So, they're just a more vertically present team. They're more confident on offense. Defense is going to kind of reciprocate that a little bit. So again, I think it's going to be a line of scrimmage game as per usual in this matchup and per usual in this conference. So that's nothing earth shattering there. But Jimmy, I think it's whatever quarterback. Yeah, it's going to be who outduels who, and that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, one interesting aspect, Alabama's 3 games is yet to turn over the ball. Kind of one of the shocking things about the bad performance in Tallahassee for Alabama is it didn't include any turnovers. Alabama is yet to throw an interception or fumble the ball away to the opposition after 3 games. Is that going to continue? If that continues through a 4th game, kind of have to like Alabama's chances. Obviously, Georgia's defense is something, Georgia's defense going to likely create some turnover situations for them. So I do think turnovers are big in a game where 2 teams are sort of evenly matched roster-wise.
And getting Jam Miller and Tim Keenan back is certainly going to help. I can't get over just watching Ryan Williams, how ridiculous he was last year in this game against Georgia, where, makes the big play again in the final minutes. And I can't get over what Joey Aguilar just did to this Georgia secondary a couple weeks ago. So I just keep looking and say, if Ty Simpson takes care of the football,
it was a rough go for
these points.
Corners. Yeah, it was a rough go for the corners.
Yeah, and then Georgia having Zachariah Branch out there doing some pretty good stuff as well. I think it's gonna be more of a shootout than we're used to. I mean, last year, of course, it happened, but typically with these teams, you're used to them being more defensive focused and it being closer, kind of like the old school Alabama LSU games. I think those are gone forever. You're not gonna get that for a while. It's gonna be shootouts, offensive, just go, and so I think that's gonna be the best part. Is the question is, which team goes out there and plays, as you said, Jimmy, the cleanest game. Can Alabama keep that going? If they can keep it clean, there's a good chance they can win this game. Same thing for Georgia. The one that makes the critical mistake is probably the one that's going to lose.
Quick show of hands. Who's taking Georgia to win at home? Raise your hand.
Give me Georgia in a classic Big 12 shootout.
Everybody but Jimmy is taking Georgia.
And I will say this, even though I'm taking Alabama to win the game, I will say the Alabama team we've seen in 2025 so far hasn't been good enough to beat Georgia and Athens. It has to be a better Alabama team than you've seen so far. They're certainly capable. It starts with a clean game. I think both teams are going to score in the 30s, and it's going to come down to who makes the big play in the fourth quarter. Last year it was Alabama.
Real quick, just to get to another game here before we get to some other ones. How about 2:30 Central on ESPN? It is going to be 3-1 Auburn at number 9 Texas A&M. A&M with the big emotional road win at Notre Dame, then had the bye week. Auburn coming off of, I thought, a pretty decent showing, all things considered, particularly on defense in Norman against Oklahoma. But Auburn doesn't want this thing to spiral. You lose 2 in a row, this thing could really spiral for Hugh Freeze. But it's an A&M team that's playing really good football.
I think what Auburn does well defensively can create some problems for Marcel Reed. They were able to keep John Mateer in the pocket, did not allow his legs to become a problem in the game. The question is going to be, how much do they try to attack Auburn down the field? Because Baylor had a lot of success with that week 1. Oklahoma didn't really try to go downfield a whole lot because Auburn played a little bit more coverage, played a little more shell. Will Marcel Reed be patient enough to take his shots, or will they be aggressive and just try to force the issue?
Yeah, and this is just a gut punch game. If you're Auburn coming, it's just a gut punch that happens. You have to get back up and play a team that's on an emotional high coming off of a bye week. This has a chance to go completely sideways for Auburn, and they could be a very good team. But that level of emotion, listen, I'm somebody that rode the Hugh Freeze roller coaster for several years. I've seen him pull off wins against Alabama, and I've seen him go on the road and lose at Memphis. I've seen it go up and down over and over again. So you just don't know what you're going to get in this football game. And I think there's probably more of a probability that Auburn comes out flat than Auburn comes out on a high.
But I will say this, to John's point, like I think this is going to be for Colin Klein. It's going to test where him and Marcel Reed is at currently with the play calling, with the playbook, because if he is comfortable enough to push the ball down the field, if he is comfortable enough to go more into the passing game and dig deeper into the passing game, I think that's where you have your shot, because DJ Durkin's going to sell out against the run and against the option, because that's what Marcel Reed is best at. You're going to force him to do what he's uncomfortable with doing. Now he's just got to go out there and execute, and Colin Klein has got to be, not scared to call some of these things down the field and then put Marcel Reed to the test.
Well, I could see Casey Concepcion. There's a play where he's walking off the field, and John Williams, they dial this up. They dial up the trick play, and Concepcion just runs to the end zone with nobody covering him. How about that?
No comment.
One thing about that play that a lot of people haven't noticed, it was just up there on the screen on that stop. Look at this is the Auburn corner on the 13-yard line that would have this part of the field. Another Oklahoma player came up and talked to him, assuming some friendly banter. But that guy from Oklahoma goes up and talks to him before the play, distracting him, I think, because that's his side of the field. I think that Oklahoma guy talking to him played a part in that corner not noticing what was going on down there.
I got a question.
Back to actual football talk, like Jackson Arnold having to go from Norman to College Station. I'm praying for you, my guy. Like,
Be tough.
Even add to that, my question is, after you come off a game where you were sacked technically 9 times calculated, but we probably saw about 11 of those. You got sacked 9 times, and you're going against a Texas A&M defensive line. That's actually pretty good, known with a lot of high 4-star, 5-star talent. What does that look like for Auburn? How do they protect their quarterback after A&M saw an opportunity to try to mimic what Oklahoma did on the defensive line and putting that much pressure on Jackson Arnold? To me, that's my biggest question is, how do they prepare him for the attacks that we know is going to come from Mike Elko?
real quick, guys, raise your hand if you're taking the Aggies at home. Anybody taking Auburn on the road? John Neighbors and John Miller, y'all both going on Auburn on the road?
I am.
I'm kind of feeling Auburn a little more too, simply because it is the Hugh Freeze, up and down thing. This feels like I'm kind of feeling a little bit that way with Arkansas a little bit too. If they're the high variance Hogs, well, they got to vary the other way sometimes too. I think they're going to beat Notre Dame as well. I think it's going to be another weird week in the SEC.
High variance Hugh. No, after spending 9 days,
there you go.
Hey,
spending the last 9 days debating with Auburn Twitter, I'm done. I can't throw any love toward anybody at Auburn except for like a few social media accounts and our guy Zach Blackerby. That's about it.
I'll say this: A&M's defense has been leaky. So if Auburn can score some points,
It has.
maybe they can hang around in this one. So
Listen, A&M might have the best collection of running backs in the Southeastern Conference and one of the better offensive lines. I think that's the matchup to watch in this game.
If Missouri didn't exist, you mean, on the
They
running
also
back comment?
they also have a collection of.
He said collection.
They also have a
I'm
great
standing by
collection
what I
of tombstones for dead dogs outside the stadium as well. R.I.P. all the reveillees. All right, when we return here on
I think John has a point.
Squad Edition, who is Landry Kiffin rooting for this weekend? We'll talk about that next.
Oh, God.
Back to the squad in just a second, but first, this episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. And this week's moment that moved the game forward, how about the Oklahoma defense just last week doing what they needed to do, getting after their former quarterback in Jackson Arnold and sacking him a team record 9 times, 9 sacks, tying a record in Sooner history. Pretty darn impressive from all those guys, from R. Mason Thomas to the rest of them. Oklahoma's guys brought it. And when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. Just like there's more to every highlight, there is more to a Mazda vehicle. Go check them out today, our friends at Mazda. It is Mazda, move and be moved. SEC squad, roll along here, and guys, our next big game of the weekend, it is LSU, number 4 LSU at number 13 Ole Miss, both teams undefeated. Something's got to give. Steven, start us off with this one, and what's going to happen with the quarterback at Ole Miss?
Austin Simmons was full go at practice on Tuesday. That doesn't mean that he's going to start on Saturday. That doesn't even mean that he's going to play. That just means that this week he is taking part in practice, which he didn't do in the previous 2 weeks. Trinidad Chambliss, everybody has seen what he can do, and he is going to be the focus of absolutely everybody in this game. But I think this game, believe it or not, is going to come down to a simple fact. LSU's ability to run the football versus Ole Miss's ability to stop the run. If you can make Garrett Nussmeier a one-dimensional player, you can make LSU's offense look like, well, honestly, what it has looked like. If you let LSU get started running the ball, the play-action pass works, that offense can get unlocked, the weapons, and then you have the traditional LSU Ole Miss game that could get absolutely nuts. Right now, I'm feeling Ole Miss winning a close one in this game, like 20-17. It's going to be tight in the fourth quarter. It's going to be very tight. LSU reminds me of what Ole Miss was in 2024, which means if it's tight in the fourth quarter, the pressure is going to start to get really thick. And Ole Miss needs to do to LSU what LSU did to Ole Miss last year.
This will be the best defense that Trinidad has played all season long. Like in his limited time, this is easily the best defense he's played. Now, he's a dynamic player, and I'm excited to see what he does against the Tigers, but I think he's going to have a little bit more difficulty than what he did maybe against Arkansas.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about as well, is what is that defense going to look like that, that Ole Miss is going to be preparing for with LSU. Their defense is really solid. And they've done a really good job of keeping opponents down as far as points. And even like the Florida situation, they got 5 picks. Unfortunately, their offense couldn't convert because Florida has a pretty solid defense too. So I'm curious to see what Ole Miss's defensive set's going to look like in order to make sure, just as Steven said, that, if you make them one-dimensional, there's a very good chance that Ole Miss is going to pull this out. So it's going to be a nice challenge on that side. I think the offense that gets going is the one's going to win, and I don't think it's going to even be that close. I think it's going to end up being a 2-touchdown game by whoever's offense figures it out first.
John Neighbors, help me out here. Didn't Arkansas kind of moved the ball pretty easily throughout that much of that game against Ole Miss, right?
Yeah, they did. Not in the second half as much, but they still found ways. But I think it's always about matchups, at least in that, because I think we talked about it maybe last week, but it's like a Bobby Petrino versus a Pete Golding. Sometimes just certain coordinators match up against certain defenses, and it works out that way. But like with this, though, I don't know. I actually feel good about Ole Miss's chances. I don't think LSU's as good as maybe what I just actually want to see a crash out once again by LSU. I just want to see that in the press conference so badly.
Please,
We have
the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, if he starts hitting the desk, that's all I really want to see. But I mean, listen, any team, you cannot grade or gauge anything by what the Arkansas defense did against a team at all. So,
hey, I just want, if LSU does win, I want Whit Weeks to have an awesome game, so Lane has to answer that question in the post game. Hey, your future son-in-law had a nice game against you.
Yeah.
hey, listen, can we just give the respect where it's due of college football? This is why it is the best sport that there ever is, because of something as stupid as this.
Yep.
Like I always bring up, I know it's an example of last year for you, Corey, but when Vanderbilt beat Alabama, they tore down the goalpost and people walked down Broadway over there in Nashville with a police escort.
Yeah.
Like
3 miles.
like, helping them out.
Yeah.
And they tossed it into the river.
Yeah.
And like there's no other sport that does anything as insane as that.
Well, then they pulled it out, broke it up, and sold those pieces on Fanatics for like $300.
Yeah, it was insane. I mean, they walked like 3.5 miles too, carrying this big ass goalpost.
Yeah, college football is the greatest for stories like this. It just is.
Yeah, absolutely. And back to this game, like to me, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but when I watch LSU, I just feel like when I watch their offense, I just feel like they don't really know what their identity quite is or what they really want to do. It seems like they're still just trying to figure some things out with like, hey, do we want to be heavy on the run?
Let me jump in there real quick, Corey, because just to defend them, they did say Nussmeier was hurt, and so they knew the defense could beat Florida, so they dialed back the offensive game. This is just what they've said.
Okay.
So now that they played Southeastern, the offense unleashed, this is going to be the big test. If they unload and the offense is rolling against Ole Miss, then this is what the real LSU is. But you're right. Like, okay, were you playing coy, or is that who you really are?
Yeah, we just couldn't figure it out, and I don't know if you're just hiding something or if you want to try to figure it out and sort things out against Pete Golding. But like I think he's a pretty solid defensive coordinator. But I mean, it can get pretty tricky on you in a hurry in this matchup, and this matchup's usually not. And Steve, this matchup's usually pretty intense.
It's too early to talk about Atlanta, but the winner of that game is in a pretty decent spot early. Ole Miss could be the first SEC team to be 3-0 with a road win under their belt. If LSU wins, 2-0, but yeah, they get a big road win out of the way, because there's the path to Atlanta includes at least 2 road wins, and they're going to be very tough to get in this league this year.
Yeah, and also if whoever wins this game, if Ole Miss can beat LSU, then you go to Norman in a couple of weeks, and who knows about Thumbgate, what's going on there. So I mean, that could be that game could look a lot different than we thought. Even I did a crossover with John 2 days ago or yesterday, and it was a completely different mindset about that game than what is now.
Just a couple real quick show of hands. Who's taking Ole Miss at home? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay.
I also had Zach pop into my head when you said, just to defend LSU for a second there, Chris.
No.
I heard Zach's voice in my head.
Hey,
Of course you make it about LSU.
Yeah,
I am Switzerland here. I'm just making a case because our buddy Matt Moscona only joins us once a year, so I had to take the LSU angle there.
I just had to throw a shout out to Zach, because every time I listen to the squad show and Zach's on, that's the thing that pops up. Anyway,
well, Zach's still hurting from that loss this week. 2 more guys in the conference. How about number 15 Tennessee going on the road at 4-0 Mississippi State? That line's been about a touchdown, 8.5 points at FanDuel. I mean, if you'd have put a line on this preseason, this would have been Tennessee minus 14 or something. But Mississippi State, the clang of cowbells, they're coming. Like, is Tennessee maybe in a dangerous spot here?
I think
I
they
don't
are.
see it.
Yeah.
I called in the offseason this was going to be potentially the team that Mississippi State could get. Last year, with a true freshman quarterback, they went into Neyland Stadium and put up over 20 points and moved the ball effectively. Now they're going to be 4-0, feeling good, all the confidence in the world, playing at home. They're going to have to work at tempo with those cowbells. And until you've been in that environment, your ears ring until Wednesday after hearing those cowbells. It is a mess. And if you are not locked in, Joey Aguilar, kind of new getting up to Tennessee, I'm telling you, they do not ring responsibly, as they like to say. They just ring. If they think it's working, they will ring some more and ring louder. And I think if Mississippi State can jump on Tennessee, that game could get weird in a hurry.
Will the ringing drown out Rocky Top?
Yes, it will. It'll drown out everything. It'll be like bumblebees all over the stadium.
No,
First big road test for Joey Aguilar. You know, he hasn't been on the road. He's been on a neutral site game, but he's going into a hostile SEC environment. That could make some things interesting. I don't think it'll be enough to thwart Tennessee's offense, but it could get them off to a slow start.
No, Tennessee's going to win this one by 3 possessions. It's not even going to be close.
I agree. I think Tennessee rolls here.
Vegas
I think Mississippi State is much better than everybody expected. I give them props for that. I also think that win, though, Arizona State quite a bit worse than I think people expected, too. I just believe in this Tennessee team. I think they roll here pretty easily.
Yeah, I don't think Stark Vegas is going to be strong enough to keep Tennessee from taking this down. I'd say they're trying
to will it to happen. They're trying to will an upset to happen. They honestly, no offense, John, but it sounds like the Arkansas people before they came down to Oxford.
Yeah, Tennessee coming off that loss and in the manner in which they lost to Georgia, I think that's a mad Tennessee team going to Starkville, and they're going to take Mississippi State seriously because of their upset of Arizona State. So I think Tennessee's expecting a good team, and they're going to show up mad. I'm with John. I like Tennessee between 10 and 20 here.
Oh, yeah, I think it's going to happen in the second half, too. I think it's going to be one of those tight games at first where you're thinking, oh, Mississippi State, and then Tennessee's going to pull away.
All right. And my Egg Bowl moment, Mississippi State is commemorating an Independence Bowl uniform in this game. An Independence Bowl.
I take it back.
Who doesn't love Shreveport in December?
Tennessee
Anytime
by a million.
You do that. One more, guys, and this is like, I feel bad because nobody's going to be watching this one. We're all going to be watching Bama, Georgia, but Kentucky at South Carolina. Kentucky coming off a bye. They're making a quarterback change. They're going with Cutter Boley as their starter. South Carolina is hurting. They're coming off of 2 straight losses. Lenora Sellers gave it a valiant effort. They couldn't get it done, but this almost feels like one at home at South Carolina at night. They have to win this one.
And they will win this one.
Yeah. They have to, and they will. Yeah, I'm with John on that.
With Missouri running for 4,000 yards and not giving up any rushing yards last week against South Carolina, I don't have any faith that they can beat Kentucky because they're going to line up with 2 pretty good running backs and just run the ball until you stop them. And if South Carolina can't do that, then Kentucky's going to win a 20-10 game that's going to be all manner of ugly.
South Carolina loses this game, the wheels are off that bus. They'll have a lot of losses if they lose this one.
Yeah, hello Blacksburg if that happens for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, he might be in Blacksburg next week.
Yeah.
That has potential if South Carolina doesn't take control of that game early and avoid turning that into a rock fight, which that's Mark Stoops' MO. But I'm with you guys, but I'm with John. I think they kind of try to get it together, right the ship. I mean, Lenora Sellers.
I've got to think they right the ship here. I mean, Lenora Sellers is just too good of a player. I think he was pushing a little bit last week simply because, well, they couldn't run the ball against Missouri. He had to basically do it all, and at times he still was able to. That Missouri pass defense is a little shaky, but yeah, the run defense and the running game looks elite.
Sounds
South
like
Carolina's game is non-existent.
Sounds like we're all picking South Carolina to beat Kentucky. Last one, guys. John kind of touched on it earlier, but look, we expect Vandy's going to beat Utah State. We expect Mizzou's going to beat UMass, right? So they'll be 5-0. But how about Arkansas? How many? Raise your hand if you're rolling with Arkansas to beat Notre Dame in Fayetteville. We got 4.
You're all stupid.
Okay.
Hey! Just because you're having an existential crisis doesn't
I
mean you get
want
to
it
call
to
us
happen.
names.
I'm having an existential life as
I
a
can
Raiders fan.
feel
Let us wheel this to
Your life is
let us wheel this
depression
one.
from an
wanna
hour
wheel
and a
this.
half away. We're only like an hour and a half apart from each other, and I can feel the Arkansas energy over here in Tahlequah,
It's
Oklahoma.
good energy.
Is every fan base in the SEC rooting for Arkansas except
No.
Except
Arkansas?
Arkansas. Yeah.
But
That's-
I mean, I'm
Texas-
pulling for them. I just don't think
Texas-
they're going to pull it out.
Texas doesn't root for anybody else, so Texas
Texas
isn't.
sucks.
I can see the post-game presser of Sam Pittman going, "Give it up for these fans. They absolutely brought it. What a win for this team, and I'm so excited to coach these guys." I mean, it's coming.
John's gonna be like,
Yeah, I
who?
don't think
Turn
he
on the
has that much-
jukebox.
He doesn't have that much energy after the games like that ever. So I don't think that's going to be the case. But listen, Arkansas is perfectly capable of winning this game. Of course they are. But again, it's like if you don't, I did a whole podcast on this Monday. If you don't have a winning culture, if you don't have a mentality to win, if you don't have the killer assassin type of mentality to close out games, you won't win. And what we saw, guys, against Memphis, and I know all you guys just were waited with bated breath to watch that game. But at the end of it, you had the backup quarterback for Memphis come in. And game was still in doubt. Arkansas fumbled on basically their goal line, but they still had all 3 timeouts. They could have gotten the ball back. It's 3rd and 9. The backup quarterback from Memphis comes in, gets stopped at the line, carries a defensive lineman and a defensive back for Arkansas to a first down.
That's painful.
That's not skill set. That's not talent. That is loser culture mentality.
You know what?
You don't.
You're
have
right.
to
I'm
know
picking.
it all.
I'm picking Notre Dame. You
Let me
can
go ahead and
really
switch mine to
convince
Notre
me
Dame
now.
too. You
I'm
sold
going
me.
Notre
You
Dame.
sold me
You're
on
right.
Notre Dame. I'm there.
You're right. It was a great take. What can I say?
Good
Well,
job.
and-
You know,
and
you know what?
listen,
That third and 8 was bad. The first touchdown that actually gave Memphis hope when it started, where 2 Arkansas players just chest bumped the quarterback and he ran through it in the end zone, that somehow might have been worse.
Thank you, Steven. I remember that play. It's great. It's a good one. Yeah, but there's so many of them to choose from. But listen, I'm just hopeful that whatever happens, and Arkansas is going to be probably sitting in a situation where they're going to be looking for a new AD and a head coach at the same time. Which last time that happened, they ended up with Chad Morris. So really, really good stuff going on over here. I can't wait.
Real quick, guys,
Yikes.
as we wrap up, I'm just curious, what's in everybody's cup on a Saturday? What's your go-to drink on a game day Saturday if you're just watching on the couch?
Bleach.
Oh.
John will pass you a Bellmead bourbon.
All right.
I'm more of a light beer guy at this point in my
take a
life.
little drive and go give my guy a hug.
I was gonna
By
say,
the way,
I like a good seltzer, but all right.
can
We'll
I
leave it
just
there.
say, welcome
Usually
to
like
my,
an ice cold lemonade because I'm coming off the soccer fields and it's stupid hot right now still in Oklahoma.
Yeah, can I say hey to my lifelong rivals, the Oklahoma Sooners? I mean, a rivalry that goes back to last century.
Yeah.
I am just really fired up that this is an annual occurrence, and surely all of the SEC is thankful that Ole Miss and Oklahoma are going to play every year.
Spanning
right.
2 centuries.
Yeah.
Hey, it's the start of a brewing rivalry. We'll just put it that way.
Love
Guys,
it.
we'll leave it there. Thank you guys for all joining us. And hey, remember to follow and subscribe to your favorite SEC team. We'll be covering your favorite teams all throughout the season. Don't forget, I'll have you covered with Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. We'll talk to you guys next week.
God, this sucks.